It's your coach again. This is Coach Dre, and I'm pretty excited to share a few minutes with you about a recent camp tour I had at one of my top five schools. I recently spent some time. I was a guest of the head coach, Chris Maragos, over at St. John Neumann, the Celtics, for one of their practices. You know, I talked to you earlier about all the buzz, all the street buzz that's going on about the program, what Coach Maragos is building over there. So I went over there to see for myself, so I got to sit in on the practice. And let me tell you something. First of all, Chris Maragos, he has the bona fides, okay? Two-time Super Bowl winner. He got one chip with the Seattle Seahawks. He got the other chip with Philadelphia Eagles. And he had a great, illustrious career. So you can't question his mind for the game. And when I tell you, when I got to the football practice, and when you talk about an organized practice, you talk about coaches coaching, and one of the most impressive things that I saw, you saw all their players just locked in to the sport of football. Was no foolishness. And I'm going to tell you, that comes from the top down. When the head man is serious and he's about that ball, his organization, his program is going to fall right in line. And I'm going to tell you, many of the kids I've known for a number of years, I got to coach some of these kids over the past couple of years, and I got to meet and coach some of the new kids I did not know was over at the program just within the past few months doing some spring football at one of the local private high schools. But when I tell you, impressed, off the top of my head, I just think of, since I've been around in Southwest Florida, St. John Neumann has been an afterthought, and right now they have a coach who, in the previous video, I said he's like the Dr. Frankenstein of high school football, because he's building a monster. He's grabbing pieces here, grabbing pieces there. People are beating down the door to come over there and get coached up at a high level, because this man is a high school player's dream. All the big time players that play on Friday night, they've been told, or at least they haven't been told, I'm going to tell you right now for the first time, if you dream to play on Saturdays, you got to first play Friday nights. If you want to play on Sundays, you got to play on Saturday afternoons. So when you have a head coach that has played at all those levels and can coach every position on offense, defense, and teams, he knows what he's doing. He's going to attract young men that are like-minded and are aspirational. So let me talk to you about what I saw there. First of all, defensive coordinator Spencer Atkins, again, bona fides, because he played at the U, okay? Say no more. As you young people say less, okay? So he played at the U, played in the NFL, had a very illustrious career as a linebacker, extremely talented man, but a brilliant businessman, post-football playing, but he's a brilliant football coach. And when I saw Spencer out there doing some individual drills, and when he's working with different units of his defense, as well as when he's working his team defense, and he knows every position, he knows every blade of grass that needs to be defended, and he can get the young men in position and tell them why they need to be there and why that defense is going to be successful. When you have two NFL successful football players at the highest level that played numerous games, big time football games in college, big time football games on the professional level, you automatically have an advantage strategically. There's not a position, there's not a technique, there's not a thought, there's not an adjustment that these two coaches, when I'm talking about Chris Maragos and I'm talking about defensive coordinator Spencer Atkins, will not or cannot come up with to make in a football game. I think Newman's off to a good start. Let me talk a little bit about some of the players that I saw there. Obviously, they have the high-end players. Biggest transfer of all the Southwest Florida was Jaden Petit. When I tell you, and I've known Jaden for a while. I see him almost weekly, but seeing him on the football field and talking to him, and talk to some of the coaches, and everybody tells me, yeah, he's about 220 pounds. I mean, the man hasn't lost a step. You know, when you get a chance, like I did, you know, to see him do some one-on-ones with some of the DBs. It's the good thing for St. John Neumann is when their defensive backs are going up against Jaden, it's only going to make them better because they're not going to defend anybody in any Friday night as good as their own teammate. So, and he's uber competitive. He doesn't drop anything. He runs his routes very, very hard. He pushes the entire team. Jaden, he's taken St. John Neumann from an afterthought solely by his sheer force and desire to be great. His work ethic, it's changed the culture. You know, it only takes one person, only takes a catalyst. Jaden is a catalyst, okay? And sitting over there and standing there practice and watching all the different drills and teams and the different competitive drills, you could just see the impact a player like Jaden has culturally on the field, and I'm sure in the locker room. It's going to be in the building, and that's what a four-star player is all about, man. You know, he has that juice, and like I said, he's a catalyst, man. It's contagious. You know, it's just going to be like a wildfire, man. Just by his sheer will to be great, and he wants to win.